Hey, Lake,
Hey, Gabriel Jose.
where are we today?
Well, I'm still in San Francisco, and as far as I know, you're still in Chicago.
I don't know if I like that you talk for me about my location.
You
But
said,
yeah,
where are we, not where are you?
correct. I should actually start like just specifying that I'm part of the problem.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm still in Chicago, and today this is a bonus episode. So what did we watch?
We watched the much awaited 2021 release by Denis Villeneuve, Dune Part 1.
I like your emphasis on part one, comma, motherfucker.
Yeah, there was a pretty serious bait and switch here. They told us all we were going to see Dune. They didn't even have Part 2 approved, as you told me right before we started recording. It got approved today. Oh.
Or a couple of days ago, but the thing is, I could swear that I saw a promotional image where Timothy Chalamet was fighting Dave Batista, and that never happened here, not even as a vision or anything. So I think that they shot some other scenes, but not the whole thing.
Do you think it was like Kill Bill that was supposed to be one movie and then it just got too big and they decided to break it up into two, so they filmed some scenes for Part 2?
Yeah, it may be the case, because if you actually look at a Kill Bill Volume 2, it's like the narrative style changed quite a bit compared with Volume 1. It's a bit more like, okay, now we need to do like something different. We could have done the same thing as we did with the first one, but as we are releasing this movie a year and a half later, it's like, probably we shouldn't. People are going to feel a bit scam. Is it exactly the same? So I think that they may have like record something else, about like, okay, we are in set, we already have like part of the script, these parts are not going to be like changing that much, but no, the whole thing, it feels weird. Honestly, it's like when they told me that, oh, it's going to be like just a single part one and part two, if it is it makes sense, but why did you hide it? Do you think that you're going to be attracting more people if you say that it is going to be a whole story versus just a part of it?
And just coming from me as a consumer, it would have drastically changed how I felt about it, because these, like, the Lord of the Ring movies that should have been at the very minimum or the very most 3, but then they stretched it out into 4. It's like, I don't know that.
Lord of the Rings was 3, because there were the 3 books inside of Lord of the Rings.
Oh, they didn't separate the last book into 2. Okay,
it was not like Harry Potter.
Yeah. Harry Potter, and then
Mockingbird, the Hunger Games. Oh yeah, The Hobbit was a disaster because it was a single book, and it was split in 3.
Sure was.
Oh god. The Hunger Games, I think that the last part was split in 2.
I mean, I still would have seen the movie so we could talk about it, but I would have been annoyed. I'm glad. Well, I kind of knew because I watched it today, Dune, and you texted me all pissed off Monday. Like, just be aware. This is like basically a trailer for whatever's coming next.
It was groundwork. It's like just preparation for it's like, hey, we're going to be like throwing all the random concepts and weird concepts on this movie, so you are prepared for the next one. And the problem is, like, it's not something that is going to be released in 6 months. I know about this book. I read the book. It's like these concepts are like just ingrained in my brain. But if I'm like the average audience, are going to have to say that I need to rewatch the first part.
I know myself. I will not understand anything in part 2 if I don't rewatch first the David Lynch version and then Dune Part 1.
You need to see a sting there.
I will say that if you ever wanted to make Timothy Chalamet look like a good actor, watch the David Lynch version and then immediately after the Denis Villeneuve version, because Kyle MacLachlan makes him look like, name a good actor. I can't think of anyone.
I know, like a Marlon Brando kind of thing.
Marlon Brando, who played the method actor?
Oh, you mean like Daniel Day-Lewis?
Yes, Daniel Day-Lewis.
I have to say that I'm interested because I see where they're going about like the transition or the growth of this character. you know? And I'm interested about like, is going to be Timothée Chalamet capable of pulling this off? About like just being this, hey, I'm really serious, I'm the chosen one.
I have to say that in one of the first scenes, you see him as basically this really skinny twink. And I was like, this is the hero?
Yeah.
Do I buy this? I don't know.
Yeah. So I'm interested because I think that probably Villeneuve saw like the potential, or whoever was like the casting director, about like he may actually just beef up a bit, but it's not only about like the body, it's about like the predisposition, about like how he approaches. Because one of the first scenes that we see is like he with his mother on the breakfast table, and he's like just like hunching over the table. You know, that is like, he looks like a teenager.
Yeah, he's gonna physically transform to be like a super confident. Because let's get into the synopsis before we talk about like plot specifics first.
So, do you want to summarize it?
I can summarize it, but I'm not going to use any of the right words.
That's fine.
Any of the right names. There is a planet called
Arrakis,
but Dune is the nickname.
Yep.
It's a desert planet inhabited by a secretive people called the
Fremen.
Nobody really knows much about them, and also in the desert are enormous worms like the movie Tremors. Just imagine the movie Tremors on a different planet.
Oh my god! No, don't do that.
That's a joke. But they're giant worms.
Okay.
They hear the vibrations and they come. So this planet is the only known planet in the universe that has something called spice. It also has another name, but spice is a very addictive substance that both causes immortality, I think.
Yeah, like life longevity.
Yeah, it increases your life by, if not forever, then for a very long time. And also it makes interstellar travel possible by basically bending space and time. So,
yeah, well, basically what they actually say is that consuming a spice makes you transcend like the space-time linearity, is that you can have like visions and the likes, and that's the reason why there is this space navigators, or the Navigator Guild, I think that is called. There is like some creatures that they were like just mutated from early ages with the spice for just being able to drive these spaceships. And what they do is like just like that theory of wormholes. They don't go too crazy into this one, but if you think about like the David Lynch one, it actually opens with showing one of those navigators.
And I actually appreciated the David Lynch version kind of teeing that up, because you're right, this movie is way more of an action epic and it doesn't go very much into the science at all. I mean, there are impressive machines and technology, but they don't try and explain anything, basically, in my opinion.
But I think that, okay, just go ahead. We can just talk about it. Yeah.
So Dune has been, so there's an emperor of the universe, and the emperor has allowed the house of
Atreides.
No, the other one.
Harkonnen.
He's allowed the House of Harkonnen, which is it's basically like royalty, nobility, to control the production or the harvesting of spice for 80 years, which caused them incredibly wealthy. And then for an unknown reason, the Emperor of the Universe says, hey, House of Atreides, which is where Timothy Chalamet and that Isaac actor, which I'm really starting
Oscar Isaac,
who plays Timothy Chalamet's father. He says, "Oh, okay, it's your guys' turn. Like, you go harvest the spice."
What did you think about Oscar Isaac?
I don't think the role demanded anything of him.
Nope.
But I actually really like him.
Do you find he hot?
In this movie, where he was all salt and pepper and daddy, 100%. I mean, he's always an attractive guy, but I found him very attractive in this film.
That's fair. So what happens after they go to Arrakis?
So they arrive, and all of the equipment there is basically all fucked up, and they realize that they've kind of been sent there to fail. And then who attacks them, Jose?
The Harkonnen with the Sardaukar. That they are like the Imperial force.
These are like the sci-fi like kind of tropes that I have a very hard time following.
Well, I mean, I don't think that it's your fault. I think that it's a bit more that look, there are like a lot of names, a lot of random names, because you could call it like the Imperial Guard, but you call it the Sarthan Guard. That is like, okay, I get it. Is that you want to just give names to everything, but at the same time, is that we need those names. Is that you need to be like so truthful to the source material? Is it going to be like changing anything for good?
In my opinion, it doesn't. It makes it a little hard for laymen like me to follow. I mean, I haven't read the book. I did see the David Lynch version, but it made it hard to follow.
Oh.
So there's kind of an epic battle where basically the House of Atreides. Well, I'm not going to give away the ending. So I will say that concurrently,
It's not the ending. It's not the ending.
The ending of
It's just the beginning.
So then that's kind of big picture stuff, and then we get a more intimate story where we're introduced to the son of the Duke of Atreides, who is Timothy Chalamet. His mother, did I say something wrong?
No, Paul. Paul Atreides.
Paul, yes, Paul is his name. His mother is kind of like a space witch.
It's a Bene Gesserit. It's a Bene Gesserit. Yes. It's different.
Again, a name I'm not going to remember. She basically has kind of secretly belonged to.
No, it's not secret. It's not secret. It's that basically it's like just like a factory of concubines. A factory of concubines from the perspective that is that they have like a secret agenda. I love that part from the book about like, hey, you have like this kind of feudal society in a space that they're fighting each other, and then you have like another thing that is happening there. There's like they just care about like, hey, we just want to create the perfect human being. So we're going to be like just mixing up like genetics here.
Yeah, so they've been doing like genetic mixing, trying to create the one. It's heavily inferred that Paul may be the one, and there's this nice intimate story of the family, in my opinion, where Paul kind of discovers that his mom believes in this, I don't know, this plan
prophecy.
It's like the prophecy of a Messiah that's going to come. There's going to be a holy war, and then there will be one to save them.
But just think, I remember that when we talk about the Dune, the David Lynch version, you told me is that, hey, I don't really like when they mix up like this kind of beliefs and spiritualities, you know, with my sci-fi. It's like it just waters down. But here they actually just give you like a tiny bit that is a bit more. Is that, hey, this person is the one that is going to be like just traversing, you know, like just being to actually beat time and space. So from that perspective, it already like just plants the idea about like whoever does this, it can be like the person that it actually starts up the Bene Gesserit like hundreds of years ago or thousands.
And in my opinion, they downplayed the like quote unquote religious aspect of all of these families compared to the David Lynch version, which I appreciated. And yeah, I think the comment was that like for interstellar travel to be possible, like there has to be a firm grasp of science, and the more scientific you get, the more you move away from religion historically.
Yeah.
So ultimately, there's this great big, it's not really a battle, it's kind of a massacre at the end, and Paul, according to prophecy, ends up basically with his mother escaping the massacre and joining the
Fremen. Yeah.
I keep wanting to say frenemies.
No, just think about like they're free men.
Oh, thank you. That will help.
Yeah, that's what they say on the book, but they never said it in any of the movies, of the two movies.
And then sprinkled throughout, there are these Terrence Malick type shots of Zendaya.
Because they're visions of her. Yep.
Just like every Terrence Malick film ever. But we won't get into that. Jose, did I miss any of the major plot points? And I understand this is 2 hours and 35 minutes, so there's a lot in there. But I think I covered most of the major, like, interesting plot points.
No, we see Charlotte Rampling as being like the mother witch. Yeah. Yeah, that was like a really good, well, on everything. You love her on everything. It doesn't matter if it's Dune, Harry Potter, 45 years, you love her.
45 years.
So we see her on that. And overall, yeah, I think that you got the gist of it. Is that basically half of what we saw on the David Lynch movie. There is no like weird models, but there are like many scenes that they are almost the same from the David Lynch one. They're a bit more elaborated, they're a bit more like visually appealing, but
and more subtle.
Yeah.
And without, so there's an annoying
without
amount
exposition.
of exposition in this film, but not nearly as much as David Lynch.
Yeah. I mean, I hate that is like the David Lynch movie starts with that narrative from the prince or from the emperor daughter that she only shows up in two scenes at the beginning and at the end, and it's like on this movie Zendaya is that just a vision until the end, until the last 10 minutes of the movie. No, but she actually starts the exposition, and a part of me thinks like, did you really need to do this exposition? It's like, was it really needed? And a part of me was thinking like, is he doing like trying to do like a wink at the David Lynch movie? Because that part is not the part that you should be like winking at.
I remember specifically from the David Lynch version when Paul is sparring with his like mentor or something, and the whole time we're hearing his thoughts, and he's like,
he's so aggressive.
Sparring. He's really trying to kill me. What's going on? Something's different. Yep. And I waited for that scene in this film, and I was like, you can do it without the exposition. You can get all of that from actors' faces and actions.
Yep. And it is. Is that I think that is that okay, this position they just use it. I think the only strong moment where they use it is at the beginning. That is about like, look, you have been like just coming to watch a movie that is called Dune. Dune is a word that doesn't come up. They call it Arrakis.
The bad guy does. He calls it Dune one time when he like rises up.
Oh, the father from yeah.
Because I paid attention, I was like, when are they gonna say Dune? And that was the only time I could.
Stellan Skarsgård.
Yes, and he was very good in however they made him look like that. I liked him a lot.
Yeah. No, the casting was good. The casting was really good. I don't think that you miss anything important. I think that the visions were interesting. There was a point that I was wondering, and I didn't get the confirmation. I think that they already present that is that the visions that he's getting, it doesn't need to translate that they're going to be the truth about like what is going to be happening. Is that because he kills one of the guys that he was seeing another vision about like, hey, I would teach you about the desert ways, and it's like, oh no, I killed that guy.
Yeah, I found that scene very interesting because I was like, wait, he's supposed to let that guy kill him? And then he basically takes charge of his own destiny, which themes of this movie.
No, but that's something that I think that it was like pretty well displayed compared with the book. There is a Paul struggles with it is like, are my visions like a disposition of the future or of a potential future? What should I do?
He doesn't really believe in the prophecies at all, and even when he meets the Fremens, call him Messiah or the Chosen One, or the voice from
the Outland
planet.
Off planet, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And his mom is saying, no, they see you as this, and he says a really interesting line. He said, no, they see what they've been told to see.
Yeah.
So he has this like doubt about the prophecy. There was some ambiguity in both that character, what we're seeing, and the storyline that I found intriguing.
Yeah, I think that they actually developed that's like properly captured with the book. I think that they actually are like just doing the correct kind of slow burn that David Lynch didn't do. David Lynch was a bit more, it's like, okay, yeah, he's the chosen one and now he reigns. But here, I think that they can capture like the kind of gray area about like, if you are the chosen one, can you be the chosen one without being the chosen one?
We all saw the Matrix trilogy. Yes, you can be the chosen one and not believe you're the chosen one.
But he was. It was a bit more like the Oracle just tells you. The Oracle just tells you what you need to hear. No, what is true. Is that's the part that is like that's a bit of a bullshit thing. In this case, a bit more like, look, we're talking about visions, we're talking about like things that they may happen like 1,000 years in the future or right now. It's like I'm not talking about like just riding this wave, but can I get away with it? I'm not saying that that's what it's going to be like going. Maybe Villeneuve is going to be like going crazy on this second part and doing something different. Who knows? But for me, if it was like, I love the lack of exposition. I love when Jessica is explaining that part about like, hey, you know, like the locals are calling you this because you're like the off-planet boys. I felt it's like, look, they only spent 30 seconds for just explaining a random term, and they made it meaningful. When in David Lynch's version, it felt a bit more like just throw names into it, into this script. That's enough. We'll have like some narration later.
I will say that in terms of storytelling, I think they did a pretty good job. Let me take that back. I think they did a great job.
Did you ever feel like lost? Because I went with my boyfriend to watch this, and he asked me at the end, it's like, well, at the end, it's like 3/4 into the movie, it's like, so the Harkonnen are the bad guys? He didn't see the David Lynch version, and there were like so many names at the beginning, and they disappear for a while until they attack again. There was like, wait, were these the guys at the beginning, the ones that they used to be in the planet, or what?
I already knew from David Lynch hitting us over the head with a hammer over and over how disgusting the Harkonnens are.
Yeah.
I did get confused now that you actually explain it, that it's the Harkonnen and the Imperial Guard. That made so much more sense because there were clearly two distinct groups. I assumed it was the Harkonnen and somebody else. I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
There are some moments of confusion, and I do think the screenwriters lean on the viewers having some knowledge of the story, in my opinion.
I agree. I think this is a movie that if you know the book or you watch the David Lynch movie and for some godforsaken reason you like it, is that this is something that is going to be resonating more than to audience that they never were exposed to anything about like the Dune universe.
Let me ask you this, because you kind of know my tastes you definitely know my taste in movies and kind of in books. Do you think I would like this book? Because I haven't read it.
It's a really, really slow burn, like a really slow burn. And it's like those concepts that, for example, like the one that I was talking about that Jessica explained in 30 seconds, there may be like 3 pages around it, and then there is going to be like 10 pages about like something different, and then another concept and another concept. I was thinking a couple of days ago that my version of the book, it had a 60 or 80 or even 100 pages annex at the end explaining each one of the concepts of the book, about like a dictionary, about like, oh, the Sardaukar, the Imperial Guard, oh, the Cal Cicerear, is that's the chosen one according to the Bene Gesserit.
All right, so it doesn't sound like it's my type of book.
I mean, the problem that I have with this book, now that I'm a bit more like old and I've seen like more, is like this is just obfuscation for the sake of obfuscation. Is that you can call it the one. So if a Bene Gesserit says the one, and I don't know, like a Fremen says the one, is like it's going to mean the same. Is that the thing is like the book and the movie and everything, it tries to just hold back on that, and it's like no. The one is different for each one of these cultures, but what is going to be like leading to, because you saw the David Lynch movie, and I hope that the audience at this point they already expect this, is that all of those the ones, they are potentially the same person. He's just, it's basically what they say like sometimes about like religions. It's like, what about if all of them are like just prophets of the same God, let's say.
So one of our great fears about this film is that it was going to be like Blade Runner 2049, which for us, and correct me if I'm not speaking correctly for you, was a visual feast with not much story to back it up. Is that right? Does that sound
Yeah, I think that's completely right. I think there was a bit more like the disconnect between like the epicness of what they were giving us on the setting, and then actually like some intimacy that they didn't really match, or we didn't really care about, like just like complete disconnect between like both facets.
Which is an interesting thing to consider because we like Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah.
He directed Enemy, which is a very intimate portrait of a cheating husband. He directed Incendie. He also directed Arrivals, which was a large-scale kind of epic sci-fi film.
But focusing on a small ensemble.
So, do you feel like... how do you feel about this film? Did it like sacrifice story for style? Was it intimate? Was it too epic in terms of what it attempted to do in part 1, because part 2 is coming in 2023?
I think that it was better than Blade Runner 2049. I think that it was epic. I think that it was still like trying to be a bit character driven, but not only character driven, but the thing is that I think that it compacts more and more as the movie progresses. Is that you care about the traders, you care about like this imperial conflict, this interstellar conflict, and then at the end is that the only thing that you care is about like Paul and Jessica running away. And I think that it plays well like the narrative across the story about like just starting like really big and then just coming down. And I think that it may be even smart about stopping here, but because they can actually do the opposite about like starting small, about like these survivals that they're like the remnants of the Atreides house. Only Paul, because Jessica never really married Leto.
Also. Yeah, she was just a concubine, according to her.
Yeah, is that just expanding from there to actually just becoming again like some kind of interstellar force. So I think that it's smart about like just stopping here. I think that it's smart about like, hey, I give you these characters and you're going to be like caring more and more about them as the stories moves. But the story is always focusing on them. I don't care like too much about the one. I know that Blade Runner 2049 was trying to play with the bait and switch about like, he's the one. He's not. But if you don't do anything with this, does that even really matter? Is that should I really care about this? In this case, I think there is the correct kind of balance. I think that this is a significantly better movie. I think that it actually succeeds on just being like more formal about like this balance in between like epicness of the story and the intimacy of the characters.
You took the words right out of my mouth, and I'm so surprised that I feel this way, but I read some complaints online from some critics that it's a very slow burn, basically the first half of the movie, or maybe the first 60%. But I really appreciated like just seeing these intimate moments where like Paul is having breakfast with Jessica, and I'm a big fan of character development. They didn't do a ton of that about their like history, but we saw this intimate portrait of a family, a noble family. We got to know their friends' flaws, their bonds, the bonds that they felt with people, and then it like there's this crescendo, and it is a slow burn, but at some point there's this crescendo of this huge battle.
Yeah.
And then
go back to intimacy.
Spoiler alert. Okay, I'm not going to give specifics, but the story gets way, way, way more intimate, and the final scene is actually just among like, I don't know, 15 people, and it's so like the camera work is intimate. Like you're in these people's faces. Zendaya gives him a gift. I don't want to give anything away because this really is a brand new movie, but I was like, wow, he started out intimate, he took us through the epic battle and brought us back to intimate. Like I felt like the best of Arrivals and the best of Enemy were there to an extent, at least for a major epic, a major sci-fi epic.
Sure. I will leave like Enemy out of it because I think that Enemy is like way more nuanced than this is. This I think that is a bit more like just face value. I'm not saying that it's bad, but I'm saying there is a different philosophy than Enemy.
Agreed. I just think like how involved we were in Jake Gyllenhaal's marriage. Like I felt that close. I felt like I was observing the family that closely as Jake Gyllenhaal's marriage.
Okay. it may be like a bit more of a slice of life. A couple of the scenes they feel a bit more like a
Yeah, I
slice
mean,
of
there's
life.
not like I'm not like thinking deeply. What did that mean? Like, what is going on? What does this mean to me? But I
Yeah.
felt like I got the intimacy we really hoped we would get.
Yeah. No, honestly, I think that this was well shot. My only concern, well shot, well written, really well directed. I started watching it. I don't know if I told you this, but I started watching it on HBO Max. And when I got to the scene when the Baron Harkonnen, I don't remember the name of the character, but he started like just flying. I think that I need to watch this on the cinema. I think that it's going to be like way more impactful if you're like in front of a really large screen and you see him like just like rising and just seeing that on the David Lynch movie felt a bit more of a silly thing.
Yeah, that was such an absurd scene. I mean, I appreciated it for its homoeroticism, even though it was equating like these evil people with the perversion of homosexuality. It was creepy. But yeah, I hear what you say.
Yeah, and I had to say that that's something that I also really appreciated. That on this one, that sexuality is like it's gone. Is that it's not about like just gay people. Is that he doesn't say anything. He's still surrounded by twinks. Let's just say like bald twinks, but he's
He doesn't
equally
make the bad guy an evil gay predator that like
correct.
kills
Correct.
young
It's like
people.
it's pretty clear that he's evil. It's pretty clear that every single time that they saw the Harkonnen, there is like some kind of oppressive atmosphere, but it doesn't need to cross the line. So it's an acceptable Me Too age movie.
I agree. I think, not to get to our questions, but I feel like this is going to age super well.
Yeah, the same way that the Dune from David Lynch, it aged in a bit of a weird way,
It aged like milk left out of the fridge.
I had to say that it's like the cast on that one. I still think that Cameron Lachlan does an okay job, but Sting in there, he stings.
Ugh, I forgot about Sting.
Yeah. Should we go over the questions?
We should, yeah. Let's close this up. I'm surprised at how much I liked this film, to be honest.
Honestly, I of course I left as I love the book. I don't know, you didn't go to the cinema, but you still go this week. They had like a survey taker at the end.
Well, I am going to see it in IMAX on Friday, so
Yeah, you go for it. But it's like they were asking, it's like, oh, did you like it? It's like, did you get all the concepts that they explain? And for me, it's like, dude, I read the book. It's one of my favorite books ever. It's like, of course. It's like, I watched the David Lynch movie. I have it like tattoo on my arm. But yeah, so would you watch it again?
sure. How about this Friday?
That's fair. Do you think that they're going to be like just falling asleep or something during it?
So if my husband got like tickets to the 10 o'clock showing, 100% I will fall asleep. If it's like a 9 o'clock showing, I'll stay awake.
I had to say, and this may actually be like a good question to what I fell asleep for 1 second. I think that I just started, okay, this is starting to be like a bit slow, and I just did like too well that day, and I started like, oh yeah, we're still watching this, but it's like, it was not that it was bad, it was not engaged, it was a bit more, it's like, okay, it's more than 2 hours of a movie.
It's more than 2 hours, and also we watched it at home on our couches, and it's just a different experience. Like, we're exhausted from working, well, not me, but you. Like, there's so much else going on.
I was on the cinema, and it was like one of these like like fancy chairs, that you can actually just recline.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. So yeah, I will watch it again. Definitely not tomorrow, not in 6 months, but definitely before the next one comes out.
But wait. When we were talking before recording, and we said the next movie is coming out in 2023, you said you would not watch it when that movie came out. Which is it, Jose? Which is it?
Okay, that's fair. I think that I would rewatch it. But not right away, because I don't think that I can put up with 5 hours of this.
I'm going to follow up with you Friday after I saw it, and I'm going to give you a new score on Friday.
That's fair. Would you recommend it?
tough because honestly, the answer is no. I can't imagine if someone came to me and was like, "Hey, tell me an epic sci-fi," probably yes. But Dune is never gonna be at the top of my mind when I'm telling someone about movies I like. Oh, Dune, you gotta check out Dune.
I think that I'm going to go with maybe, and I'm sorry for going with this, but what I'm going to say is that I don't think that it's bad. I think that it's good. But at the same time, it's like just knowing that there is another movie that is always going to be 2 hours and a half or 3 hours of a movie. I don't know what it's going to be. It's like I'm going to be like recommending something that is incomplete. It's like I couldn't. I think that it's like a way better adaptation than David Lynch, but at the same time, it's like until I don't see the final product, I feel like a cock teaser at this point.
And that makes sense. Like, I feel like both of us would have recommended Kill Bill Volume 1 with no hesitation.
Oh yeah.
There's absolutely hesitation when it comes to Kill Bill Volume 2.
Yeah, I mean, I love that we're on the same page there, because like I think that is vastly superior Volume 1 to Volume 2. It's still good. It's still a good movie, and I like to watch them like back to. I mean, I don't know if back to back, but at least like just days in between. And we discussed this like some weeks ago, but in this case, I have no idea what he's going to be doing. It's like this is good, but it's not a stellar, and it's not a complete story because you can watch.
It doesn't even wrap up things satisfactorily.
Yeah, and Volume 1 of Kill Bill, you can watch it and it's like it's fine. The only reveal that you have at the end is like the daughter is alive.
Yep.
But in this case, like what reveal do you have? Is the Zendaya is real?
Zendaya was the worst part of this movie. There, I said it.
Alright, then just wait for 2 years for dealing way more with her.
She didn't know that part 2 was going to be made, so she could have just had like little tiny scenes throughout this film and then never got the chance to perform.
I'm pretty sure that the cast was already aware that they were going to be on the second part. I think this has been like a publicity stunt, the same way as not saying that there's going to be like part 1. Right. And just think that this movie was supposed to be released last year. It was completed.
So it could have come out in 2020 and we would have had to wait until 2023?
No, honestly, I had the feeling that it's like half of the scenes are recorded. And besides that, is like Timothy Chalamet is 25 right now. Probably he was like 23 when they recorded this.
At least.
Yeah, and I don't know, Zendaya. Let's see, Zendaya, that I love that she doesn't have a second name. She's also 25. So they're like the same age. They were 23. They're going to be like changing quite a bit during this age, So I'm pretty sure that they recorded a lot and they're like just leaving very few scenes to be recorded. So that's a personal take. I think that is that at this point what they're doing is a bit more about like just building anticipation about this movie.
Which annoys the shit out of me. The movie as a movie is good. This whole stunt they pulled really annoys me as a consumer.
Yep. Would you remember it?
No. I'm not gonna remember these names. I'm gonna remember that's a retelling of the Jesus story. That's what I'm going to remember.
Isn't The Chosen One a retelling of Jesus' story?
It sure is. I felt so much like I was watching The Matrix several times when I saw this movie.
Because that's the first Jesus story ever.
And then he finds out he's the one, and then he starts breaking all the rules of physics. We get it.
He didn't break any laws of physics, but sure. Yet, we don't know what is going to happen there. I could remember it, but it's like I'm cheating because I know the book and I know what happened here, and I think that is like this is a way more truthful adaptation. I love the scene when Oscar Isaac like bites the tooth. I thought it's like this is really well made compared with the other ones. Like, oh, I'm almost unconscious, so I think that this guy is the Baron, so I'm going to be like just biting the tongue. This is that.
Also, I would like to answer this question after rewatching it on Friday, because honestly, there's so many of these like new names and words that I just didn't get as, seeing it for the first or kind of the second time. Maybe when the world becomes a more concrete universe for me, maybe I'll say, yeah, I'll remember it. But I feel like I said, I missed who was attacking the House of Atreides. So
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. Do you think there is anything artistic about it?
Visually, it's stunning. It is stunning, and they make the desert look like the most beautiful place. I feel like they didn't overuse special effects or makeup or anything. I think it was very understated, and as I said, I think it's going to age very well. Yes, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think that is exactly what I was thinking about. Is pretty classy how it was shot,
Yeah.
and I think that everything, the acting, everything is like just pretty on point.
This
So,
is what Blade Runner 2049 wanted to be, even though it shouldn't have wanted to be that. It should have been like the steampunk thing they did in the 80s, but this is exactly what they were trying.
yeah, here it fits completely about like, oh, it's year 10,000. It's like you have like a classy aesthetic. It's like you don't diverge much. I mean, Blade Runner it's always like the problem is that you're trying to live up to you're living up to a movie that was released more than 30 years ago. How do you actually combine these things? But yeah. So, following up is that, do you think that this is a timeless piece?
I do. I think they made some artistic choices that allow this not to be a product of its time. And I think the themes that the story explores obviously are timeless. I think the special effects were outstanding. I can't tell where special effects will be in 30 years, 50 years. Maybe they'll look dated, but I think this is a beautiful, understated film that will stand the test of time for quite a while.
Yeah, when it comes to the special effects, I had to say that it's like applying suspension of disbelief was pretty easy. It's like everything was natural, on the screen. It was like pretty well realized. Is that expression?
Yep.
Yeah, or well executed. The story, as you said, is that we have seen it before. We will see it, I don't know, in the Matrix 4 again, and in many other movies. But I think that we will get exactly the same, like 30 years from now, out of this movie.
My only complaint was the dragonfly spaceships, which are just so unrealistic in terms of physics and machines, and Denis clearly loved them because we got to stare at them a lot, but it's a very, very minor complaint in a 2.5-hour movie. Overall, just stunning.
Well, I mean, I think that is that's like part of the original book, like describing the design like that. So I think that is fine. I think that Lynch changed it, but it's a bit more about like just trying to embrace like these, like they look like flying creatures,
I can respect that.
Yeah, and I think that is fine. That some of the things that they showed up is like this doesn't look too functional or too useful, or why did you go with it? But it's good. I think that it's still like impactful, on the big screen. So, like for example, like the scene where they are on the sandstorm and they start like just losing each one of the wings. I felt like this was made. You actually have like just a regular plane or a regular helicopter. It's like this wouldn't have worked in the same way. So I feel like sure, let's just go with that. He's fine.
It makes me feel better that it was in the book.
Yeah, or at least I think that it was on the book. Would you turn this into TV show?
No, I don't think so. I feel like this is an epic story that should be told in one sitting.
Well, I mean, until I heard some kind of confirmation today that the studio announced that it's like this will conclude the story of the original book. And I also think that they're also leaving the door open for just continuing the following books. So I had the feeling that they may be aiming to have a Dune cinematic universe. And honestly, I'm freaking tired of cinematic universe.
How many books are in this series?
Infinite. I don't know exactly how many are there, but I think that Frank Herbert only wrote 3 of them or 4 of them, and then his kids inherited the rights and they wrote a lot of them.
Fan fiction? The rest are fan fiction?
Basically, is that the rest of the days like you wish that they were fan fiction. Even like the second one, I remember like I don't know if it was like Emperor of Dune, I remember, or Children of Dune. I remember like reading it is like holy shit, is that this is Frank Herbert reading fan fiction about Frank Herbert. Is that this is bizarre? It's one of the weirdest books that I ever read. And then I stopped there. It's like I don't care if the next one is going to be better or not. Is that this is just strange. I don't need to just dig deeper into it. Now I would say that the story is so dense that I think that it could have been split into 6 or 8 episodes. I mean, actually, one of the best adaptations of Dune is a TV series that is like with James McAvoy.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
I'm going to check that out.
Yeah, James McAvoy. Maybe we should actually do that, like one more bonus episode, like watching.
The next time is my choice. We're gonna watch Twin Peaks season 3, and then we can watch this.
Oh, like back to back, like The Return and then Dune with James McAvoy. But yeah, I think that that's a good idea because I think that is like this is a super dense book, so like
It's
trying.
right?
Yeah, it's insane. It's not healthy. Like really something it is. So I just feel like having a TV show could have been like the worst way of actually just talking about this story.
Let me say that if this was going to be turned into a TV show, I think I would appreciate it the way Ingmar Bergman did like 6 hours of television, but basically it's a single movie. I would be into that. I think of like Firefly when you say, should we turn this into a movie?
Well, just I think that basically what David Lynch did with The Return is like an in-between thing between like what Ingmar Bergman did and Firefly.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. There is it's not 100% like a single story. It's like it's still like pretty separate about like this is where Dougie does this. This is where
I'm not going to change my answer, but I can see how it could work. I do.
Okay. Yeah. Do you think that this movie could have been better?
Ooh, I feel like the answer is yes, but I can't think of anything specifically. I would say no.
Okay.
I enjoyed this film so much more than I thought I would. I'm so surprised.
My answer is no. I cannot identify about like anything specific. Maybe I would have removed the Zendaya exposition at the beginning.
Yeah, that was a little intense.
But well, it was not only a bit intense. It was a bit more of a parallelism with the opening of the David Lynch movie that I rewatched it like a couple of days ago. It lasts like a minute and a half, and it's like 40 seconds into it is when actually like the Empress Doctor says like, "Oh, by the way, one more thing. The spice only flows from here." There is a Dune, and there's that, and then you have like all that exposition again when the Navigator Guild goes to see the Emperor. Is like, why did you need it? Why did you need that second time? Is that they actually talk about all of that? Is like, don't stop the flow. The spice must flow. And it's like, yeah, we know. That's the reason why we send the traders to Dune. Is that here they don't have all of that. So I think that it makes a bit more sense to have that exposition, but at the same time, I have a natural reaction to it. Is that if you are doing exposition, you're doing something wrong.
And also just trust your audience. Like we're relatively intelligent. We can pick up on like story cues and like references to the past. Anyway,
do you think that would have worked if not having that exposition on this one? If you hadn't watched, like the David Lynch movie or even reading the book?
About the source of spice being Dune?
Yeah, and about like the conflict with the Harkonnen being there for 80 years, just subjugating the Fremen, that they are like basically a guerrilla people.
I mean, through conversations, yeah. How hard would it have been for like the Duke of Atreides to be like, I can't believe we're giving control of Dune because they've been in control for 80 years. It would have been clumsy, yes, but you could absolutely do it without exposition.
That's true. Is that probably, like all the exposition can come from Javier Bardem. Because we didn't even mention it.
No, which makes me sad because I think of what was that movie where he was basically Jesus? The film starts out and he's pissing blood and taking care of his 2 children.
Oh, be Cristina Barcelona?
No.
Beautiful?
Beautiful, yes. Beautiful.
I hate that movie so much. Alejandro González Iñárritu is that was like the first one that he did without collaborating with the screenwriter that he had with Amores Perros and 21 Grams, and it's like, this is garbage.
Yep. Pure garbage. He got nominated for an Oscar for that, man.
For the screenplay?
No. Sorry. Javier Bardem got nominated for his acting.
I mean, it wasn't bad, but the problem is that the screenplay was terrible.
So bad. So bad.
But in any case, yeah, the Javier Bardem part is that when he was there, is like, is that Javier Bardem as a Fremen? Is like, what are we going with for the Fremen? Are they going to be like Hispanic? What are they? Because Zendaya is one and Javier Bardem is one. Is like, what is these people? I don't get it.
It was a very diverse crowd at the end.
Yeah. It felt a bit more like if did you ever see like those stock pictures about like people in the office that you always have like an Asian lady, a black guy, white, you know, suddenly there is a diversity. I feel like somewhere way with that for the Fremen. That is like, it's okay, I guess, in this time, but at the same time, when you think about like, hey, these are isolated people that they're living in the desert, it's like
there's gonna be some homogeny. Like, it's not like, you know, there was a lot of immigration to that desert.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. I feel like a bit weird about this. How did you feel? This is something that I was telling my boyfriend at the end. Is that, look, you had to think that the traders, I don't remember what it was the name of their native planet, but it's like, this is a Scotland planet.
It was beautiful.
But it was a Scotland.
Yeah.
They were even like just playing the pipe about like, hey, you didn't realize where is Scotland.
And they were all white, right? Except for the doctor who was Asian.
Yeah, but he was a traitor.
Yeah, he was a son of a bitch. Not because he's Asian, just his character.
Exactly. And then when you go to the Harkonnen planet, I think that was a bit more obvious on the David Lynch version, but I always think it's like, this is LA planet. It's like completely polluted, you know, like devastated. It's just
tell us, how do you feel about LA, Jose?
I like it. I honestly like it. You know, it's not about like it's not like Detroit. I don't think that it's like destruction porn, but I still think that it's an interesting city. I was not one of those people from San Francisco that used to hate LA. I thought that it was a cool city. But should we score this?
We should, and I will say that I have had my score picked out from the beginning, and it has not changed based on this conversation.
Oh, that's good. Rare, so. I bumped it a bit, so I'm going to be like giving my score first. My score is 7.5.
And mine is an 8, which blows my mind.
Okay, that's impressive. Yeah, I honestly like it. I don't give it a higher score. I thought about like just bump it. I had a thought about a 7 at the beginning, because this is good. This is beyond good. But until I don't see the second part, and with the marketing maneuver that it is, I feel a bit pissed about it.
That's fair. And I think our scales are a little bit different. For me, 7.5 is good, solid. And I think this was a little bit better than that.
Yeah, for me, it's like 6 is good. I think that's 7, it will be like above that. And I think that is like this, even a tiny bit above that. You know, that is 7.5.
So we feel the same movie. This is better than... It's a little bit better than good.
And it's way better than David Lynch, though.
What? Do you have the spreadsheet pulled up? What did
5.5.
It's better than I remember.
Oh, no. Wait a second. No, 5.5. No. And I was just thinking about Lamb. No. Sorry. And that doesn't mean because this episode is going to be like going over before other episodes when we talk about Dune. You give it a 2, and I give it a 3.5.
That may be the biggest jump that I have in our history. I mean, we haven't watched that many like remakes, but
yeah, no, I don't think that we ever watched any other remake. But yeah, this I remember. I think that a friend of mine, Alberto, he sent me a quote from a review saying before this movie came out that he was talking about like the David Lynch version. He said, like, look, Villeneuve is going to be like making a normal movie for normal people that they want to consume a normal story. But there is still like some kind of room in the world for the kind of weirdness that David Lynch created.
There is. I'm not angry the David Lynch version exists. I'm angry that I had to watch it.
I think that's pretty close to actually say that is like that's not good. I'm angry at David Lynch.
So let me ask you this question. I watched this movie in secret because my husband loves this movie and bought tickets for this Friday. You watched this with your boyfriend. What did your boyfriend think about this film? And had he seen the David Lynch version or read the book?
No, he didn't watch like the David Lynch movie or read the book. And he's not a sci-fi person, but he liked it. I think that he appreciated like the aesthetics. He felt a bit confused about some of the concepts, and that's the part that I feel is that when I go with a 7.5, I don't have 100% clarity that someone, without knowing the book or the previous movie, that he or they could actually get out of the movie and say, it's like, I get everything. Is that this has been amazing. What a narrative. I get everything. I just feel it's like we already start with advantage, is that we were like just comparing to the David Lynch version, and that's the reason why I feel I don't know how this is going to be like playing out. And I think that right now people are eager to just go see anything at the cinema, and thankfully this has been like a better opening weekend compared to Venom 2. For the love of God, I hope so.
Such a good movie, Venom 2. Go see it.
I won't, but thank you. But yeah, overall, I think that people, if you haven't seen it, go see it. You may agree or disagree. There is this part about, like, you know, when some other times we talk about the movie, I feel is that, look, if you don't agree with us, especially when we are on the same page, you know, about the movie, I feel is that you're wrong. You know, like when we talk about like Blade Runner 2049, that it was the last episode published, is that I just feel is that if you don't agree with us, is that you are like just rolling with what the critics said, because they were like really eager to just see a sequel to Blade Runner, and that was like visually pleasing, but beyond that there was nothing to it. And I think that this one,
in saying that this movie may not be for you, but this is solid filmmaking. It's solid storytelling. So maybe sci-fi isn't your thing, maybe this particular story isn't your thing, but this is a competently made film. It's interesting storytelling. Maybe it's incomplete, like you said, but I would bet that most people will like this.
yeah, even if it's just for the visual spectacle.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, so that's fine. Anything else to say about this?
No, I like this movie more than I thought I would. So
yeah, that's good.
I would watch it.
Yeah. And as this is a bonus episode, we don't have to say we're going to be like watching that, so people don't know exactly where we recorded it.
Yep. So next
Enjoy.
episode, surprise.
It's a surprise. You never know. Well, they know, because if they listen to the
Yeah.
previous one, we already said what we're going to be. All right. So to those people listening to us, thank you so much.
And keep washing your hands.
Ever and forever.
Keep
Bye.
your booster shot.
Exactly. Get your booster shot. Bye.